Okay, so here at the table saw, we are going to cut the groove into the bottom inside face of the piece that will become the long side 1, 2, and short side 1, 2. I've got my sample pieces over here. I've brought my sample bottom piece over so that I can test the depth and width of my groove against my sample piece. I've got a piece of scrap material. I'm going to use this to do two things. First, I'm going to use it to adjust blade height to proper cutting depth. And I'm going to use it to make a test cut so that I can double check the depth and spacing of my cut. So first things first, let's get the blade set to the proper height. To do that, I've got a mark on this board that is 1/4 of an inch from this face. And I'm going to set that next to the blade and then raise the blade so the top dead center tooth is equal to the height of that line. Okay, good. Now I'm going to adjust the fence, and I'm going to make sure the fence is 1/4 of an inch from the blade. So come over here and I find my marking. I can move my fence all the way over to the 1/4 inch mark. That's going to ensure that the distance from the blade to the fence is 1/4 of an inch. Since the blade width on this machine is 1/8 of an inch, we're going to make two cuts. I've got it set up here to my first test cut, and you can see here our groove is 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 depth, 1/4 width, and 1/4 of an inch from the bottom edge. So the distance from the bottom edge to the first cut is what I've established here from the fence to the blade, and the depth of the cut has been established by the blade height. When I make this first cut, this first test cut, I'm going to use a push block. This is a foam pad with a handle and a push stick. I'm going to hold it here, kind of on a 45 to where the blade is, and I'm going to use a push stick right here. I'm going to make sure my push stick is not in line with the blade because I don't want to cut through my push stick, even though some students have done that in the past. So my push stick will go right here. I'm going to push that right over the blade. So I can remove this after the blade stops, and I can check both for the distance from the edge to the bottom of the groove, and I can check for the depth of the groove. And I'll do that with my ruler here. So looks like I'm right on at 1/4 of an inch. And my depth looks like it's a little bit deeper than 1/4 of an inch. Since the depth of my groove is a little bit more than what I wanted, I'm going to lower the blade just by a little bit and make another test cut. So the blade has been lowered. Let's make another cut. Okay, now that I've got my blade height set and my fence set correctly at the proper dimensions, I'm going to make one long groove cut into the inside face of this board. I've got a knot on this board. I'm going to put that on the inside of my project so that it's not visible from the outside, which means that I'm going to make this the inside face, and that's going to therefore go down. When I look at the board's top and bottom edges, they look pretty similar, so there's no harm in picking one edge to be the bottom and one to be the top. I'm going to go ahead and make this the inside bottom edge. When I cut this, when I make this cut, rather, I'm going to apply pressure with my push block here, and I'm going to feed the board in with my hand until the end of the board reaches the front of the table. I'm going to move my hands one at a time, and I'm going to make sure that I apply pressure over the blade with the push block as I go through the cut. What I wouldn't want to have happen is not applying that pressure and allowing the depth of the groove to change. I want consistent depth, which means the pressure needs to be applied during the entire duration of the cut. Now that this first cut has been made, I need to move the fence, in this case, to the right 1/8 of an inch to accommodate the second eighth that we're cutting for an overall width of 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to tap this over and lock it in place. I'm going to go back to my test cut piece, and I'm going to make another cut on the same side as the second cut. And then I can check for the proper width of my groove using my sample bottom piece. This actually seems to be a little bit loose to me. You can see that that's moving up and down. I'm going to move the fence back a little bit and make another cut on my first sample cut. See if I can't get this to be a little bit more snug. When I look at the sample pieces that I've got, you can see that doesn't quite move as much. All right, a little more solid. That seems to be a better fit, but it's a little on the snug side. I think we will cut the way that it's set up now, and when we plane down the thickness of our bottom piece, we will ensure that it fits correctly. Okay, let's make that second and final cut for the groove.